back to the dominatrix thing. Sorry,
Yeah,
but I'm absolutely fascinated. Obviously, you're on the radio talking about it. So, friends and family know what you do.
Oh gosh, yeah. That's the first thing of you being free. You can't be ashamed of what you do.
No.
Everybody knows what I do.
What's the biggest misconception do you think people have about dominatrix?
That we have sex with our clients.
Right.
Yeah. Or it's just about women screaming at the top of their heads, or it's about violence and pain.
So, when I had a career, do you remember that?
I remember that.
Yeah. Well, you haven't known me that long. So, I remember interviewing a dom, and she told me, okay, so I said, what was the most extreme thing you've been asked to do? And she said a client asked her to run him over in her car.
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I went, there's no way. She went, yeah. And I said, did you? And she said, well, it got to the stage where he was writing out a kind of a document contract saying, yes, I have asked her to do that. So if she's arrested. I mean.
But again, you know, when you're a dominatrix, it comes with responsibility. I've had to signpost some of my clients as well and say, okay, clearly you need to seek some help. And I think on a serious note, that when you are in this profession, you have to be aware of those who have a genuine fetish and it's just a desire. And most things like that extreme, it's good when it's in the mind, you know, so it's all about that fantasy in the mind. We need to keep it in the mind. But if it is something that is like, well, okay, I think there's something wrong here, then it's important for them to signpost them to get help.
Well, also it could come back on you, couldn't it?
Well,
if you did
someone
something,
scribbling something doesn't stop you going to jail.
no, and then
sure.
you know someone gets hurt, then you know you're the one up in
I
the
do
dock.
have a story about a policeman.
Oh, perfect. Go on.
We love
You must.
policeman story. Come on.
So
Let's call him PC Dishy.
yeah, so what happened was, and this happens very rarely, you know, in my career. It's only happened like I think twice. So I had a client come round, and it was in a domestic setting, meaning not in the dungeon. It was in like a home setting. That's what we call domestic setting.
Do you have your own dungeon?
She does.
Yeah, I have several dungeons that I will play from, and I also do mistress training. So I train women how to be professional dominatrix.
Hello.
Yeah.
There's your birthday present.
I think we
Dear
just found.
hamster,
I
happy
think we
birthday.
just found our next show. Right. Okay.
And before, when I was, you know, fully involved in that life, I had my own dungeon. But now I'm not so much involved in that world. I mean, I have clients that fly in to see me, and I would do it then. But most of my time is spent with either talking engagements or working with women or my Schluck masterclass. Again, like I said, my journey started with WBFF. You know, being a dom and starting to find out what my purpose in life is.
It's evolving.
It's evolving. Yeah.
Back to the PC though.
Yes, so it was in a domestic setting, and this gentleman came, and you should never ask me how much it is, because you know what I mean. If you give me your wallet, I'm gonna take everything that's in the wallet, right? As long as I'm concerned, as soon as you walk through that door, we're playing. Okay, so he wanted all of that, but sometimes a client may switch out of it and be like, oh, okay, I don't know about this, I'm not too sure, or they may think that they're submissive until they meet a real dominant woman and then they don't like it, or they try to test you. There's so many different things that a client can do, but he should have known not to test me, so he gave me his money.
Test you.
Yes, and it was fine, and I took the money. He had exactly the same amount that I had quoted him, so of course it's supposed to be all for me. And then we were playing, you know, it was corporal punishment, which is caning or whipping or spanking. And then just out of nowhere, he was like, no, I want my money back. I was like, are you speaking to me? Like I was
Not the Marks and Spencer's customer returns desk,
yeah,
is
right.
it? You know what
And
I mean? I've got my receipt. I want my money back.
It was very bizarre because we had already started playing. If it was at the beginning and he was like, oh, do you know what? Sorry, my mistake. Fair play. But you know, we had already gone through the scenario. You've already got your little kick out of it, and then now you want to switch it all up. So then he goes, oh, okay, and then he opens the door, and then there's a police officer just walking past. So, and I think this was part of his kink. I think this was part of his whole thing. I think he wanted to have that scenario, right? So he kind of gets all upset, goes, oh, you know, you took all my money. Again, he already knew how much the session had cost, so I think it was his kink and his play. He so happens to open the door at the time where there's a police officer across the road walking down the road. So he calls the police officer over. He goes, oh, this woman's taking all my money and she's tried to beat me up. And I'm standing at the door in high boots, you know, boobies up to my chin.
They're up again.
They're up again. And the police officer walks over and he goes, oh, what's going on? And he shows the police officer all the marks on his back. And the police officer said, oh, is this true? I said, yes, indeed, officer. He paid me to do it. And I always kept text messages. So all your scenarios are either emailed or text, you know. So the officer didn't know what to do. So I explained I'm a dominatrix. And he goes, oh, but she took all my money. He goes, did you? I said, of course I did. And then he said, oh, you know, she whipped me. He goes, is this true? I said, of course I did. And the officer, he went bright red. He goes, sir, I think it's time that we leave. And I said, bye-bye. And I shut the door. And that's just one of my many stories. Like, honestly, being a dominatrix comes with a lot of funny scenarios.
And come on, tell us that one again. Oh my gosh, we could do another hour with you easily, Madam Storm. I want to hear more stories about being a dominatrix.